Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Bengal Magazine. On the show today, we're talking football, and then we're going inside and talking hockey. First up, Jerry Boyce, the head coach of the Bengals, joins us. Jerry's bringing along Casey Kacz, his quarterback, a sophomore from Sweet Home. And then Rob Burke, women's hockey coach, joins us. And Rob's bringing along Jen Seguin. She's a junior defender from Hamilton. And then Nick Carriere, the men's coach, joins us. And Nick is bringing along from Sweden, Daniel Andersson, a junior defenseman. So take a break, and we're going to come right back with Jerry Boyce and talk a little football. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. And fun things go on behind the scenes here at the studio. But Jerry Boyce joins us now, the head coach of the Bengals, and Casey Kacz. And gentlemen, thanks for being on. Jerry, let's cut to the chase. Last week was an opportunity against an old rival, Rowan, down at Rowan, and one got away, but man, it was almost a W. But I thought your comment after that game in the office is why I think you said why we lost the game, we actually gained something. Can you explain what you meant by that?
Well, Tom, a year ago, certainly 2 years ago, when we fell behind 21-7, that probably would have become a 50-something to 7 game. That is no longer part of our culture now with the football program at Buffalo State. So I was extremely proud of the way our young men really fought back and really kind of took over the game a little bit to come back to actually lead in the fourth quarter. Unfortunately, we gave up a big play and we weren't able to, kind of ran out of time, you might say, in answering that punch, you might say. So geez, I'm just extremely proud, as I've said, about what has gone on with the team this year.
Talk to me, and maybe both of you can, about this offense. 517 yards against what is traditionally a very good program at Rowan. It appears to me, as an outsider, that this offense is really clicking. Do you agree? And what are some of the keys to racking up 517 yards?
Well, Tom, yes. You know, I think we're averaging well over 400 yards in the last 4 or 5 games. And there's a lot of factors that go into that. But the onus is on the players and the execution. You can have great plays, you can have great plays called. But unless players execute those plays, they don't happen. So it's really, the onus is entirely on the players to perform on this play and then get ready for the next play and do the same thing over and over again. And quite frankly, that's what's been going on. At the same time, that you have to have a trigger man that can recognize that we've just called a play that is not a good play. And to have those abilities to automatic, because that is just a crucial part of our scheme. And our quarterback's job is to make sure that this play has a chance to be successful. So Casey's abilities, and I don't know how many automatics he made this past weekend, but a number of them. And it was just crucial to the success of the offense in making first downs and making drives continue.
Well, how many automatics did you, was it 5, 10, 15? Was it more? Or, and do you feel comfortable doing that?
Yeah, I feel comfortable. At first, when I got into the offense, I was unsure of myself a little bit. But just over the past few weeks especially, I've got more confidence to change the plays. And I'd say the past week I've changed maybe 10 to 12.
Wow. So. Is that, getting off topic, not off topic, but is that normal at this level that a quarterback would have that much quote-unquote power to change plays from the coaching staff?
Good question, Tom. It's always been a part of my philosophy.
Okay.
Playing the position, I think, is part of it. I know of some teams, even at the Division I level, that don't give the freedom to the quarterbacks. They might give them limited, but to my quarterbacks, I give them the playbook. They have to be able to recognize what a defense is doing and change the play.
Right.
There is some regard to the situation, 3rd and 4, whatever it is, but really it's really up to the defense.
Right.
They will dictate to Casey what to call to, and having a guy that is not afraid to do that is crucial.
And then on the other hand, you as the head coach have to be somewhat patient if he does maybe make a bad read or something. Well, I'm giving him that power, so I'm going to have to hang in there with him.
Well, I do smile, and I'm sure Casey will smile too, because there are times early on when maybe he didn't make that automatic that we had a little discussion on the sideline that maybe not a lot of smiles to it, but that's part of the game.
Well, you had a phenomenal game against Rowan, 23 of 36, 379, and a couple TDs. In the lineup as a starter over the last 4 games, a sophomore. Is this type, completing 58% of your passes, is this type of success a bit of a surprise to you, or did you feel, I'm ready to go, let's get it done?
That's not really a surprise. If anything, I feel like we're missing out with a couple wins here.
Okay.
Personally, I feel like I'm doing okay, but I could do better. But for like the last 4 games, we've been 2-2. I feel like we should be 4-0 for those 4 games, so it's a little frustrating. But overall, I think our team is where it should be. And these last 2 games, I think the way we've been playing, that we should get these 2 wins.
He mentioned something. He's very critical of himself. I think a lot of quarterbacks are, and a lot of good competitors are. What are those areas that a former quarterback and now head coach that he needs to improve on over the next couple of games and moving forward, possibly?
Casey's improvement is only through playing.
Okay.
Before there's great success, there's failure, and you have to make mistakes to learn.
Right.
And after you make the greatest thing I see in Casey is the fact that he may make this mistake, but he doesn't repeat it.
Okay.
It might be a new mistake, and that's okay, but he doesn't repeat the same ones. And that is only, it doesn't happen through practice. It happens through game time, under the pressure, and either making the right decision or not.
Right.
But learning from that so that when it arises again, we don't make the same mistake. And that's the greatest thing that I see about Casey. So everything right now is just continually to get that experience.
Mm-hmm. Interesting, you had brought up the last 2 games and moving forward. Brockport this Saturday here at Carriere, noontime. Plenty of tickets available, by the way. And then down at Morrisville. How do you look at these last 2 games? I'm interested in both of your perspectives. We've got a couple of minutes left. Is this the beginning of the new year or of next season, or is this everything into this season right now? Casey?
I still look at it as this season, just because I think about the seniors. It's their last chance to play, and it's their last chance to go out with a 500 record, which is important to them. So if it's important to those guys on the team, it's important to me. So I don't want to really look ahead to next year. I kind of want to finish this year strong and get the wins for those guys.
Wow, what a tremendous answer, great insight. Coach, from your perspective, a coaching perspective, how do you approach these last 2 games?
Well, every game is one at a time, Tom, and always has been, always will be. Casey is right. At the beginning of the season, in preseason, coming off of last season where we won the last 3 games of the season, and kind of the question that, even a statement that I heard, from walking across campus is that, geez, looks like you've turned the corner. So that was my question as we started this season. Have we turned the corner? The answer will be determined on November 5th. If we play the way we're capable of, we certainly have the opportunities in front of us to say, yes, we have, by finishing this season strong with these 2. And that is a very important aspect for us.
Gentlemen, thanks very much for being on the show. Casey, great job. We're going to take a quick break. Hope you stay with us. When we come back, Rob Burke and women's hockey. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Let's talk a little hockey. We're going to start with the women's program here at Buffalo State, and Rob Burke joins us, the head coach. and Jennifer Seguin, a junior from Hamilton, Ontario. And Coach, first time on the show as the season gets going, give us a little preview of what's happening on the ice.
Well, we've, as you know, been after it since October 15th, and you know, the number one thing we talked about with the players coming in was it's 1 week till our first exhibition game, another week till our first 2 non-conference games, an additional week till our first 2 league games with Potsdam. So the first week, let's talk about effort. Okay. Coach Boyes is talking about the execution. That's up to the players, but really our focus the first week was the effort. Okay. And the effort's been there. We've been really excited about that, and the girls really embraced that attitude.
Tell me about, get a little more specific on the roster and maybe some folks that are coming back that we should be looking for.
Well, you have Christine Williams and Bree Murphy, who are both seniors this year, who did just a phenomenal job last year. I think Bree had 6 power play goals on her own. Christine had led the nation in shorties with
I didn't know that.
4 shorthanded goals, so that was impressive. So they're impressive young players, and I say young because I'm 48, of course, but they just...
you are young.
They're wrapping up 4 years with our program, and we need to give them a good season along with the other 3 seniors.
Right. From your perspective, student athlete, what do you see on the ice, Jen? Give us your viewpoint of the team.
Well, definitely coming out of preseason, I know that we're all so excited just to get the season started already. Coming with a short team, I think it's actually a positive thing because everybody knows that they have to work hard every single second of the game. Right. Definitely just ready to start.
Ready to go, yeah. 5 seniors, is that, would you consider that a experienced team from a coaching standpoint, or is this still a somewhat youthful team?
No, it's a better mix this year of young and old, if you want to call it that, because you know, in the past we've only had a few graduating seniors each year, and you know, I think 2 years ago we only had 1, 3 years ago we only had 1. Last year we had more than that. So the distribution between seniors to freshmen is becoming a little bit more evenly balanced, and that's kind of what you're looking for. That's what I inherited when I got this program in 06, 07, and with that comes maturity on the team and within the locker room. And so we're really looking for the team to take ownership of itself this year in terms of accountability and responsibility.
Great. I'm always interested, especially how student athletes come to Buffalo State, but especially hockey players, because the recruiting process is a little different than your normal basketball and football or whatever, where you go visit in high school, et cetera. Jen's from Hamilton. How did the recruiting process start and finish? Why don't we start with you, Jen?
We always joke that it's a short recruiting process with me because I was recruited in grade 12 and I didn't end up coming till last year. Okay. At the time I had taken the tour on campus and I really enjoyed it. I knew I was a great fit to the campus, but I just didn't think that going international would be for me, or being far away from my family would be for me. So definitely took a while to figure out how to get here. So
when you stay home, then you play for a club team or a junior team in Hamilton, did you not?
I actually took 2 years off of hockey.
Wow. So okay. Was that difficult for you, or something that you just needed to do?
It was definitely hard because I had grown up always playing competitive sports. Sure. So taking 2 years off was definitely hard for me.
So you lassoed her back into the sport. How did that all happen then? How did she finally come to Buffalo State?
Well, again, the first year I was here in 06, 07 was the first year I saw Jen play when she played for Stony Creek Midget AA. Okay. And that's, you know, she was in grade 12 at the time, like she said. She tried out for and made the junior team the following spring, and so took the victory lap, as they call it in Ontario, which is basically the grade 13, which is allowable up there. Okay. So she played for the junior team, part of the PWHL, which is the most recruited league in girls hockey from Division I perspective. You know, some of the top players on Team Canada come from that league. Wow. So Jen played a high level of hockey, so I knew that if I left the door open and she ever came this way, we'd get a good one, and we sure as heck did. And she's majoring in French education right now, which is fabulous. There was an exhibition game against a team from Toronto, and I'd be curious your thoughts on what you took away from that game as a coach and also as a player. Well, again, that first week we were looking at effort. Okay. The prime goal was to really have a good effort on last Friday's game. Inside our office, in the coaching staff's office, we knew that with good effort, hopefully good execution would come by the third period. And sure enough, by the third period, they really stepped up and kind of answered the challenge we'd given them between second and third period. And they really started to execute very well, Jen. And did you sense the same thing, that the execution on the ice was a little better?
Oh, definitely. I think as the game went on, we were starting to get a feel of how our lines were playing and where our other players were going to be. So we definitely started to mesh a lot better in the third period. It got we got a lot of help with our special teams too as well. We got to practice those. It was nice, especially since I said last year that we had a big roster, so some girls were sitting out. So it's nice to get the feel of just a smaller team this
Sounds
year.
like a perfect exhibition game. I mean, you got a lot done. You were able to see certain things, et cetera, and it really did matter in the standing. So personnel-wise, you have a new assistant coach. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Jamie and where she comes from?
Sure. Well, she's new, but she's not new because she played for me here in her senior year in 06-07 when I first came here. And then ever since then, she's been a volunteer assistant coach.
Right.
You know, this year we had the opportunity. Her life situation made it such that she was available to do this as a career path. You know, she'd coached in the inaugural season of high school hockey last year as well as helping us out. So her coaching background has grown. Her coaching acumen, you could say, has really developed over these years since being a player. And just obviously a natural fit being an alum.
Right.
You know, she went on our first recruiting trip up to Stony Creek actually with me, and just was blown away by all the coaches and former players that she's heard about in the D1 game, and so it's exciting to have someone who's that excited.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
We have a minute left. We start with, I believe, 8 straight home games to start the regular season, including this weekend, Friday at 4 and Saturday at 7. How do you approach a home stand that long? It's somewhat unusual. Was it just happenstance that the scheduling worked out, and how do you approach it as a coach?
Yeah, I mean, within our league, we have a rotational schedule, so we're not in control of that. But when there's open weekends, like this one was available, we're looking for non-conference games. So whether it's on the road or at home, it so happened that UMass Boston wanted to come in here. The coach of UMass Boston's from Buffalo originally, played at Boston College, and I think she might have a player or two that might be from the area too. So she was looking for a little road trip back home, so it fit well with our schedule. Right. Staying at home for 8 games gives us a chance to really settle in and see what we have, and not get intimidated by our large crowds here at home. Absolutely.
Well, again, we start, the Bengals are in action Friday night Friday afternoon, Friday evening at 4 o'clock, and then Saturday at 7 at the Sports Arena, the Ice Arena, inside the Sports Arena, against UMass of Boston. So, Rob, best of luck. Jen, thanks for being on the show. Appreciate it. We are going to take another break. We're going to keep talking hockey. We're going to bring the men's program up next. Stay with us. We're going to keep talking hockey. We're joined now by Nick Carriere and Daniel Andersson from Kuzbacka, Sweden. How about that, guys? Well said. And no, you didn't take a plane trip over to Sweden to recruit him, but we'll get into that in a minute. Talking men's hockey. And Nick, as we did with Rob, why don't you give us a little preview of what we can see from the Bengals this year?
A little preview. Instead of having 17 freshmen, we have 16 sophomores now. We return a very strong goaltender in Kevin Carr, and Ryan Malinowski as his backup there. Our defensive core, we had 4 freshman defensemen. We now have 4 sophomore defensemen, accompanied by a couple of juniors, and really it's a lot of the same guys back from last year with a couple of select new players that add to the support.
It's an interesting roster, and the way you describe it makes it even more interesting, because if someone was to go on there and they'd see, oh, geez, there's only 2 seniors, they must have a real young team. Yeah, you got a real young team, but would you agree that it's a young team that's kind of seasoned too?
That's what we've talked about as a group, is the fact that we had a number of scenarios last year that we made some young mistakes, and we may have. We played Adrian College, who is top 5 in the country in our rink, and we're up 5-3. We end up losing that one, 7-5, I think, with an empty net goal. Things like that are things that we talk about as a group now, just saying, hey, we don't have to go through these same things, because we're hoping that we learn those things the hard way the first time, and we don't have to come back with them. So hopefully, instead of starting from ground zero, we can start where we left off last year and then build on from there.
You sense that, Dan, that there's, he's not coaching a bunch of freshmen. He's, the team's a step up, and we don't have to go through all that old stuff again. And are you excited about this season, especially what happened last year?
Oh, I'm definitely excited. Like, with the way we went out against Fredonia, just want to get back out there and just play hard. And definitely the team looks a lot better. We expect more from everyone. All the sophomores come in, they know how to do it.
Yeah, that loss to Fredonia, not to talk about old news, that was a 3-2 quarterfinal loss in the playoffs. One of the most exciting hockey games I've ever been at, perfectly honest with you. 12-11 overall, 8-5-3 in the conference. Is it okay to say there are some expectations here from this team? Are you comfortable with that?
Yes.
Okay.
We've toyed with having success in the playoffs. We've been there every year that we've been able to since I've been here, and we can't get past that first round. And we've been in double overtime. We've been in overtime. So we're really excited to take it to the next level. Our goals are to make it into the SUNY playoffs, to make it past the first round. We want to compete for a SUNY championship.
Absolutely.
And we know that with the crew of guys that we have, with the learning curve that is hopefully a little further ahead than it was last year, that we don't have to learn any of those things the hard way, and we can get to those playoffs. And once we get there, I think we have the right roster, we have the right guys in the right spots that can help us, at least give us the opportunity to get past that first round.
Goaltending such a big and important part of hockey, especially when you're only playing 26 games and every game is important. You've got a young man in Kevin Carr who really went to the forefront last year, and it just had an outstanding season, 266 goals against. Played in 25 of your 26 games. You okay with that? I mean, is that a tough ride for a goaltender, or, you know, they're young, as my dad used to say, you should be able to handle this?
Some people say let the horses run. If
Absolutely.
they're running, let them run. These goaltenders, these players, you know, Dan included, you know, are used to coming from junior hockey where they play schedules of 40, 50, 60 games sometimes. They play 7-game series in the playoff rounds. We play 1-game series in the playoffs. We play 25 games schedules, 26 if we can bring in an international team. So we're a weekend league. For a goaltender to play on a Friday night, recover, and play on a Saturday night, you know, by no means do I think that's too much to ask. And Kevin is a guy that likes to play. So as long as he continues to be the guy that is the best option for our team, that's going to help us win hockey games. And that's really how we run things. Day to day in practice, are you the best? Well, if you're the best, you're going to play. And Kevin has shown that he's taken care of his body over the summer. He has less pain that he's had to deal with last summer, and he looks good.
He's even a model for us now, but that's an inside joke. Dan, I'm interested from Kungsbacka, Sweden. We won't go through the whole recruiting process, but why the States? Why did you decide to come on over here or to Canada, wherever you first started?
Well, I've been thinking about that for a long time. I want to come over and play, but when I played back home in a couple of years, I had a couple of guys that they played at NEC in New England College.
Okay.
And they came over and played on our team, and they talked about it a lot, and it just made me even more want to come over and do it. So I started out like just emailing coaches. Obviously, no one's coming over to Sweden to recruit you. So I emailed coaches all around and see who I got responsive for.
Right.
And finally I ended up here.
Yeah, he ended up at another school, but you knew about him and you knew about the coach. And how did that all happen that he ended up at Buffalo State then?
Well, hockey's a very small world.
It is, yep.
So as coaches, we talk, and Dan ended up going to another institution, and things didn't work out there.
Yep.
And we just so happened to have an empty spot, and I spoke the same language hockey-wise that I believe the other coach did. So we had a pretty good understanding of the expectations of what Dan was going to bring to the table. And the interesting thing is there's a thought process out there that international guys are, you know, all, you know, kind of speed and skill and that sort of stuff. And my first conversation with Dan, you know, is he spoke passionately about defending. And
I love it.
That's what he wanted to do. And he loves to be physical.
Wow.
He loves to throw the hip check. And
oh my gosh,
we've
the
talked
hip
about
check.
Well, we've talked about the appropriate use of that.
He doesn't like that very much.
Because every now and then a hip check can turn into a trip or something if it's not executed. There you go.
But,
absolutely.
But it's been
well,
great,
and that's
Dan.
interesting. I think there's also a generalization of European players, that there might be a little quote-unquote soft. I don't know if that's true or not. That's heard throughout the NHL if you're a fan. And you like to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, that's an old saying, like back in the day that might have been true, but if you look at the NHL today, if you look at Swedish players or European players, they're not soft at all. So.
Absolutely. We've got about a minute and a half left. I want to get back to the roster because we lose a great player in Nick with 30 points, but But what's coming back, Trevor, with 17 goals last year? Talk about what's the key players this year coming forward, especially on offense right now.
Well, I think you mentioned Trevor McKinney. Trevor can flat out score goals. He caught on fire last year, and that's what we were looking for.
Well, coming off a great season last year and getting into the playoffs once again, great expectations. Really looking forward to a super season. Gentlemen, thanks for being on the show. Really appreciate that. We're going to wrap it up here at Bengal Magazine. Thanks to everybody in Instructional Resources and for you for viewing in. We'll see you again in 2 weeks for more Bengal Magazine.